real quick. We'll start out right now, so I'll give you guys a chance to get notified before we get started. Here we go.
Suffer thy foot to be moved. He that fights will not slumber. Behold. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Zelle, al yum yum ya ya, hashema shala ahaya ya wala alabana balayala
Yahweh, Yashamoria, Makal, Rai, Yashamar, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashamar, Hawalakya, Wa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'aid, Hawalam, Aman. Anasha, Ayanyamya, Al, Paharyam, Maaya, Yabawa'a, Izaria, Yabawa'a, Mayahawa, Sha'aisha, Shemayam, Warataza, La'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamoria, Hana, Yala'a Noam, Wala'a, Yashan, Shasha Wamar, Yasha Allah, Yahweh, Shemaria, Yahweh, Tazalia, Al, Yum Yum Ya, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Ayawam, Wala'a, Malabana, Malayala, Yahweh, Yashemaria, Makal, Rai, Yashamar, Nepasha, Yahweh, Yashamar, Hawalakya, Wawa'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Awalam, Aman.
got a lot of great videos to get into right now, and look at the videos through the correct lens of the Israelites, because you're going to start to hear a lot of our um, talking points, the topics that we've been talking about for the last few years. All of a sudden, these other nations are just pretty much regurgitating all the things that we have been saying. And like usual, of course, they don't tell you where you get this information from. And you just put different faces on the same information that we've been bringing out. But it doesn't make any sense when they're saying it, because it doesn't fit their narrative, doesn't fit the things that they have been experiencing, right, over these last few hundred years. It's very difficult when you're in the ones that are going around the world raping, robbing, murdering, hiding information, taking away people's heritages, giving it to other people. And now at the end, you're trying to play the victim. It's very difficult for you to play the victim when you're in the ones going around the world victimizing everyone. So I'm going to play a quick video, and we'll come back and discuss it, because we got a few videos to get into. But you look into the Psalms through the view of Psalms 83. See, they've been the ones that have really devolved everything into black and white. It's not about black and white. It's about the Most High and the Gentiles, the Most High and His people, and the other nations. And the other nations can take the form of of any of us. They can look just like any of us. They can look like the other nations, and that's why the Bible says to try the spirit of the individual. And they always want to make it seem like we're the ones that have made everything about black and white, when it's actually been them. We've had no power to do any of these things. But see, what do? They always attack what they call us, the Black Hebrew Israelites, but they never say that about Ish over there, right? So they're the ones that make everything about a black and white issue, right? But because they always try to oversimplify things. But we know that that's not possible, because there are plenty of so-called black people that are down with Psalms 83. They're down with the destruction of our people. There are plenty of brown people, same thing. They don't care. As long as you give them, as long as they get that check on the 1st and the 15th, they could care less who they have to throw under the bus. Just like a Stephen A. Smith, right? And it's funny because someone said appropriate name was Stephen, just like Stephen from Django. It's like he was black. He was blacker than everybody on the stage, right? But he was so down with, his master. And it was like, master, was we sick? Everything was like, he did everything. He threw his own people under the bus for Candyland, where he lived, right? So, but see, they want to make it sound like he's our brother. Of course, they're going to want to say that Stephen's our brother, so that we can, still tell Stephen our plans and whatever else, and so he can run right back and go tell Massa everything. You see? So they're the ones that have tried to devolve everything so they can still put their little spies and agents in these groups and try to thwart this awakening. You see? So yeah, we always try the spirit, and it doesn't take very long before the Most High exposes the spirit of each and every individual around you. As soon as you start talking about this truth, you start to see how people buck up against it. They can't prove it wrong, and whatever else. These other nations, they know they can't even talk about it, so they have to hide numbers, hide the channel, shadow ban. It's like I said, it's funny how the videos always get around the same numbers every single video. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, 30-minute video, 40-minute video. It's going to move the first few hours, and all of a sudden it's just going to stop or slow down. But then they're going to take that same information and they're going to put it on their channels. And like I said, we saw where that video I did a little while ago, where a boy was taking the apocalypse of Peter, hooking that up with Revelation 6 and 8, right? Going into Matthew. And exactly the same scriptures that we've been using, they use. And it's just funny how they're sitting here using our plight and trying to apply it to what they see going on now. How now everyone has to go against the system. Everyone has to go. The system is against us, when the system has really been against us this whole time. And they put like these faces to these messages, and it just doesn't fit. because these people that you're going to see have been enjoying the spoils of this society. But now all of a sudden, you want to talk about generational curses, how they've been going through generational curses. See, you got to understand the three parts. They're going to talk about the things that have been going over there, but they're conveniently going to forget about what happened over here in the Americas. And they're going to look, and so you can have black people, white people, brown people, Asian people, and they're all going to be saying the same thing. The world's collapsing, the world's falling apart. It's these elites that are on top, right? And we need to come together and we and show our voice and show our power and this and that, right? It's the same things over and over again, and now they're stuck because people who are awakened can see right through these things, because you're still not talking about what we've gone through. You want us to talk about the Palestinians, you want us to talk about Ish, you want us to talk about the Asians, you want to talk about the East Indians, you want to talk about everybody else, but you are all Confederate with hiding who we are and hiding our information, right? So let's take a look at one of these videos real quick. Brother Moriel's been hooking me up, and so a lot of sisters have been hooking me up too. I appreciate you, a lot of brothers and sisters hooking me up. I want you to let's check that. All right. And this is going to talk about how a lot of these people are upset because they have not taken advantage of their blessing. This society has been their blessing, right? So many people have not taken advantage of that. So let's check this out.
In this country is a pyramid scheme. So it's really the idea you play along and you will have more. White supremacy in this country is a pyramid scheme. So it's really the idea you play along and you will have more. You will have more than black people, more than women.
Right.
Often it doesn't work out that way. And that's part of why we see the anger, is that people bought into this system. They're playing along. They've been promised and they voted accordingly. They've spent their money accordingly, that their greatness is coming. And when it doesn't, who do they blame? Often people like me, people like you, because they've been told you're supposed to be better off. And so a lot of that anger that says, I don't have that, I don't have it, ignores the fact that you weren't probably ever going to get it, but you were promised that. And that becomes a political problem, and it becomes part of the violence that often some white men end up supporting.
Visit Every Day is June.
Okay, let's play it one more time, because like I said, it's a total pyramid scheme. If you got into Psalms 83, right? Many people got into Psalms 83, and they were promised all these things if you went along, and they're still going along even to today, because all this truth is hitting them in the face, but they're still going along with it. But they were made, all these promises were made to them, and now they're realizing that, like we've been talking about, these promises are not going to be realized. And now you got a lot of angry people, and that's why now you're seeing all these videos. I was like, you were okay with it a couple of years ago. You were okay with it when Kaepernick took a knee and everyone jumped on him and attacked him, right? Yeah, you didn't see people saying, oh, this system is corrupt, this system is wrong, this system's done this. Everybody was quiet because they were still part of that pyramid scheme. And now that pyramid scheme is now falling apart, now you got people coming out here talking all this, mess about the system. And we need to come together. And I was like, no, that's not how this is going to work. So just check out that first part one more time. It's this pyramid scheme that they've been lied to about.
See in this country is a pyramid scheme. So it's really the idea you play along and you will have more. You will have more than black people, more than women.
Right.
Often it doesn't work out that way. And that's part of why we see the anger, is that people bought into this system. They're playing along. They've been promised and they voted accordingly. They've spent their money accordingly, that their greatness is coming. And when it doesn't, who do they blame? Often people like me, people like you, because they've been told you're supposed to be better off. And so a lot of that anger that says, I don't have that, I don't have it, ignores the fact that you weren't probably ever going to get it, but you were promised that. And that becomes a political problem, and it becomes part of the violence that often some white men end up supporting.
So if you think about Black Wall Street, that's exactly the same point. You had our people who were doing very well within. They didn't need other nations to come together and work with them and whatever else. They had their own city. They had their own library. They had their own government. They had their own, businesses, and they were doing really well. And the other nations couldn't deal with that. So they ended up destroying Black Wall Street, along with many other cities that we know about, right? So it's exactly the same thing, because that pyramid scheme wasn't benefiting them at that time. But what did they do at that time? They were able to just go in and just steal, rape, rob, murder, and steal everything, and then hide that history, right? And so they were able to get their some of their benefits was that the government never made them pay for the things they did to our people. And that was all part of it. The laws, we couldn't go in, we could not, we couldn't actually go and make a claim of violence against us, things that, so it was exactly the same kinds of things, right? So that was it. We couldn't go to the police officers to file a complaint. We couldn't do anything. We had no rights. We weren't even considered even citizens, right? So what she just said is so true, because not everyone has benefited equally. Some have benefited from the system way more than others, but they made you feel like, well, yeah, you might not get it right now, but it's going to come. Your benefits are going to come. You can, I know you see me walking around here in my $1 billion house or my multi-million-dollar house, but if you work really hard, you can get it too. You're better than these Negroes. You're better than these Black people. You're better than these brown people. So you'll have the opportunity too. But now with this debt, now the Most High has taken the blessing away, that those future promises of greatness have now been taken away. And now you have a lot of very upset people who are now wanting to, band together with the ones that they've been Confederate against. And that's not going to work, because their system is done. So you're not going to be able to benefit the way that their system is set up. So let me show you guys something else here. This is one I talked about.
Yo, this video is crazy.
Now, this next video goes along with that last one, and whiteness being like a Ponzi scheme. And this guy admits, he shows you exactly how everything has been set up, and that this has been your blessing. And many people have not taken advantage of it. So this all goes back to the Bible. You see what I'm saying? This is the whole thing. Everyone's bringing out information, but they're not making that connection with the scriptures, because you've gone to church your whole life and they've been telling you that, everyone's equal and everything is equal, but they know that their society has not been set up that way, right? Your oppressor can't be your savior, right? So let's check this one out. So this dude just pretty much puts it all out there.
This video is crazy. Take a look and leave your thoughts in the comment section.
It goes like this, okay? It goes, brown are the wealthiest income earners and asset owners in America.
Brown meaning what?
Indian.
Indian. Okay.
Then it's Asian.
Okay.
I think you guys are right there, number 3.
The Jews?
Number 3 spot, because y'all get into a whole bunch of other bullshit.
There's not that many of us, though. There's way less Jews than...
No, 100%. But I mean, by GDP and by population, you guys are fucking outstanding, outliers. Great. Then it's the white people in the middle. Okay, now the black and browns are bottom 2 groups, black and brown.
Black and Hispanic, yeah.
Yeah.
You already said brown.
But the most embarrassing stat there is you're a fucking privileged white person in America and you're in the fucking middle. It's disgusting. Got education available to you, healthcare available to you, fucking lawyers available to you, banks available to you. You can walk in anywhere, nobody fucking, and you still couldn't fucking.
So you're saying all these people are wasting their whiteness?
That's what you're saying, dude. Yeah. Ain't no way another fucking race is gonna beat me to the top of the food chain, and I'm white.
And you're white, but you made it to the top of the food chain. So
that's what I'm saying.
You're the outlier.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's no way I'm being blessed with all this. Okay. And male, by the way.
And male, right. Male whites.
Yeah.
You're totally wasting.
And good looking.
Right.
Like, comment, share. Later. Yo, this video is crazy. Take a look and leave your thoughts in the comment section.
It goes like this, okay? It goes, brown are the wealthiest income earners and asset owners in America.
Brown meaning what?
Indian.
Indian. Okay.
Then it's Asian.
Okay.
I think you guys are right there, number 3.
But, you can go to church today. some people can go to church today and have your pastor talk about how everything is equal, and they'll tell you that it's equal on one side of the mouth, and the other side they'll say that you have to work harder and push yourself by your bootstraps. But this guy's telling you the truth right here. He's like, the whole society has been set up for you, and it's been said, black and brown people are at the bottom for a reason, right? But again, it's not just about your skin color. It's about, are you down with Psalms 83? Are you down with keeping Israel at the bottom, right? So long as you do that, you'll have your opportunities to get some of these blessings here. Jasmine Virgo. Yeah, but he brought it out. That's exactly how it is, right? But see, now you got all these people that are making these videos that are now all pissed off and upset, right? And but that's right. 2nd Ezra 6 and 9 is exactly true. It's the end of the era, the end of their time, end of Esau's time. And now these people don't know like what to do, because they know now, they've known before that they were pretty much given a bunch of lies. But now it's in their face. And now what are you going to say? Right? And now what are you going to say? So I want to show you these couple videos. And it's like this woman here just took all of our talking points and then tried to just regurgitate them. And then, but with her, the way she looks, and I'm sure the way that she's been blessed in the society, there's no way that anyone with any brains would take her seriously, because that she has been enjoying the benefits of this society. So let's check this one out. Let me get it real quick.
Yes. You yourself, you may already know this, but this is what I mean whenever I say that Israel is simply... Yes.
So thank you, brother. I think Modi else sent me this one. I want you guys to check this one out right now. There's a couple that we're going to get into. Okay, so here we go. Okay, here, I'm trying to play here. No.
Yes. You yourself, you may already know this, but this is what I mean whenever I say that Israel is simply a hitman for the U.S. You may sit and ask yourself, how is it that the Zionists have infiltrated the U.S. government? How did this happen? But the reality is it's been them from the very beginning, because Zionism is simply Western European colonialism rebranded. And, Zionism actually originated in Europe, and they tried to settle their religious state in several other areas before they decided on Palestine. So that whole argument of, oh, this is our land, this is the destination, it has to be Palestine, null and void. Also, the West and all of their subsidiaries, which is Israel, Ukraine, the list goes on, they all kind of work together. They just switch roles and names to kind of disguise themselves.
Is she serious? Is that not exactly what we're talking about? That's Psalms 83 to the T. And like I've been talking about how no one knows who they are, because everyone's been displaced, and then she's going to talk about that people being displaced as well. So I was like, well, you can't even, then that those aren't the people. That's not the land. So it's like, but you're still going to keep talking about how 1948 was some kind of a fulfillment of prophecy. You see, for them to speak out really puts them in a very difficult situation, because anyone with eyes can see that. Where was all this a few years ago? Where was all of this, all of these breakdowns a few years ago? You know, where was, everyone's Confederate, no one's telling the truth. Where was all of this a few years ago? You know, because all of a sudden now everybody wants to be a truth teller. Hold on, quick. So everyone wants to be a truth teller all of a sudden. Now all of a sudden, hold on fast. So, excuse me. So all of a sudden, everyone wants to be a truth teller. You got Barbie here trying to break down, how all these conspiracy theories all of a sudden. This woman here has been enjoying the blessings. You know that she has been enjoying all the blessings of the society. But now all of a sudden, she wants to be a truth teller. What is she going to tell us about how bad she's had it? How tough she's had it, Like, right, all of a sudden they're just geniuses, right? Just like, oh, we know all these European nations have been Confederate and working together against who? They haven't been working Confederate against you. You know what I'm saying? They haven't been Confederate against her. So why all of a sudden, would she be out here talking about these other nations and how they're all working together against who exactly? Because I'm sure that you have been enjoying, just based off her looks, she's been enjoying this this society, right? So let me continue. In fact, I'm gonna go back just a little bit so you can hear this garbage again.
And they tried to settle their religious state in several other areas. Eastern European colonialism.
Oh, we're talking about Western European colonialism, talking about wanting to establish their state in different areas before they decided on Palestine. I mean, like, come on now. Come on now. That's really ridiculous for her to be sitting here like she complaining, like she hasn't been benefiting from, the takedown of the Israelites this whole time. Let me play that part again. She got a couple of videos that Brother Moriel hooked me up with. It was just wow.
Yourself, how is it that the Zionists have infiltrated the US government? How did this happen? But the reality is it's been them from the very beginning, because Zionism is simply Western European colonialism rebranded. And, Zionism actually originated in Europe, and they tried to settle their religious state in several other areas before they decided on Palestine. So that whole argument of, oh, this is our land, this is the destination, it has to be Palestine, null and void. Also,
if you're going to say that land then is null and void, then you got to say that those people that are claiming to be Israel is null and void. And then again, why doesn't anyone ever take the next step? So it doesn't matter if you realize and you admit that those are not the people, right? That doesn't mean anything. Everyone already knows that. What other people don't know are who are the people, and a lot of you guys don't want to know. That's the whole point. You don't want to know who the people are. You don't want to admit who the people are because you realize that you have been destroying those people. You've been rape, rob, murder, and stolen everything from those people, and that you're going to have to pay for what was done to those people. And that's what they don't want to do. So you're just putting out these different people, bringing out information. It's like, you are Western European. You have been benefiting. So how is it all of a sudden now you're a truth teller? Well, you can be their truth teller because their truth is not the truth. Their truth is still pushing nothing but a bunch of lies.
Their subsidiaries, such as Israel, Ukraine, the list goes on, they all kind of work together. They just switch roles and names to kind of disguise themselves. And then at the same time, they will distract the masses with propaganda about these terrorist groups that they create themselves, either directly or indirectly. And then, while all this is happening, they are acting as the ultimate terrorist groups themselves, all in the name of money and against humanity. So, yeah, there's a lot of layers to this, and I'm willing to get into them as time allows. But that's one part of it. And as always, free Palestine, free the world, and all love to everyone except for the Zionist.
Now, Old Girl got 3,500 hearts and all these comments and everything else. I'm like, yeah, that should be on our channel because you're just copying exactly everything that we've already been saying. But see, they'll mess with our channels and whatever else, and they'll stop the views for our channels and then make it seem as if somehow this woman here came up with all this stuff on their own. You see, like I said, you can see the hypocrisy. I got another one. Brother sent me that I got here on one. Like it's all over the internet now, and so they're all the same videos. They're just copying our information, holding our videos down, holding our numbers down, right? And then regurgitating our information again, and then giving them all these likes and views supposedly because they manipulate all the numbers and make it seem like it's something they're bringing up something new. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to see that, you guys did not go through anything. The people who've gone through everything should be the ones bringing this information out. They're the ones, we were the ones that have been bringing all this information out for a very long time. It pertains to our people. And like I said, that's just why, like, whiteness is not necessarily just your skin color. There are plenty of so-called black and brown people who bring out these exact same points, who don't go far enough, who only go to a certain point, and then and then they'll stop, or they'll just regurgitate the things that they want to say to us that they can't, so they put a black face on it. But see, so and they're the ones that try to make it like all black people are this way, all white people are this way, all black people, are not very smart. We can't swim, we can't think for ourselves. We're not, we can't go to college. We can't be trusted to get reparation money because we're not going to know what to do with it. All this other stuff, right? Same old, nothing new. So I'm going to play this one.
The anger.
All right. So let me get it. Now, this woman here is going to be talking about generational curses and not forget, like remembering the things that have happened to our ancestors. I see, that's just funny. And they're going to go against white people. Like all of a sudden she's not a white person, and it's like, yeah, she could be a Middle Easterner. She could be a European. She could be an African. She could be East Indian. She could be a so-called Negro. She could be a Latino. Doesn't matter what labels they give you. All that matters is if you are telling the whole truth or partial truth. And you can see real quick that she's going to be giving these partial truths. I'm like, oh, so you're trying to tell me, like, I'm just looking at her, you haven't benefited from this society? If it was pre-2019 and they were still in their blessing, do you think that she would be talking about this kind of stuff right now? All right. So check this out. Right, Queen Mommy? Everybody's eating off of our plate over here. It's hilarious. Watch this one.
And rage of generations of people from the Middle East and South Asia and Africa is so underestimated by the world leaders. You think that you can
Hold on, one more
the
time.
anger and rage of generations of people from the Middle East and South Asia and Africa is so underestimated by the world leaders. You think that you can pillage our homelands, steal from us,
That's what I meant. Sorry.
estimated by the world leaders. You think that you can pillage our homelands, steal from us, unalive us, And we're going to be fine with it generations down the line? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're everywhere. We're all over the world because you displaced us. And maybe this is like my echo chamber, but I just genuinely do not know anyone who isn't fucking outraged by this. Part of me is kind of satisfied, even though that is a horrifying thing to say, because like what's going on in Palestine and Sudan and Congo is like extremely disturbing, but it's like not new. You know what I'm saying? And like, we're not gonna let them get away with it. Like, do we even need white people? I don't even know. White people are welcome to join. The anger.
I hope you can hear okay, but it's just like, right, Justin? Wait, what? They've displaced us. So, like I said, we've been talking about that this whole time. That was, again, that's Deuteronomy 28, 68, on slave ships being displaced all over the world. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't even, like the stuff that you're even saying, like this is what I said. It doesn't matter what color you are. It matters what your spirit is exuding, what your spirit is showing us right here, right? So you're trying to tell me that you have not benefited from this system? Yeah, they're totally taking our story as theirs, and now you got now you understand like why they've been making all these movies and making everybody in the Bible white, you know, because they've totally taken our story and tried to apply it to themselves. They're trying to apply it to the people who are at the lower end of Psalms 83, who did not get the blessings like they were promised, and now all of a sudden they're going to want to take our position, take our spot, because they didn't get everything that they were promised. You see what I'm saying? But like I said, they're going to be able to put just anybody out there. So it doesn't matter what they look like. It matters what they're saying. It matters what they are bringing out. Right? Who's the us she's talking about? Exactly. But the fact about how generations later on wouldn't be upset when they find out that they've been screwed. See, you guys have been telling us forever that we told you guys you're gonna have to pay for what's happened to our people for all these generations. And what they say, oh no, man, God doesn't remember that. That's not true. Nobody pays for the sins of their fathers. But now all of a sudden, she's going over there, you know, and she's saying exactly the same stuff we were saying. Oh, you don't think that the people later on are going to are going to be upset? The generations that are going to come later on are going to be upset. You see. I mean, like it doesn't even doing exactly the same things as all the other people. It didn't matter what she says because it's the same story that we've been bringing out this whole time. So let's just listen to the first part of that one more time.
The anger and rage of generations of people from the Middle East and South Asia and Africa is so underestimated by the world leaders. You think that you can pillage our homelands, steal from us, unalive us.
Pillage our homelands. Now, in one section, she says that we've been displaced. So really, no one knows where their homelands are, right? Other people have come in when they removed the Israelites. Other people came from all over the world to take over those lands because, again, you have to remember, the blessings of the Israelites were being given the best lands. So when they displaced the Israelites, they brought other people in to take over the best lands. So now today you have people acting as if somehow they've always been in these best lands. They've always been theirs, right? So no one knows where your homeland is. But if you look in the comments section, they try to make it sound like, oh, in Latin America, oh, in Ireland too, right? Oh, and the Caribbean. They've done these things worldwide, but before 2019, everyone was happy and quiet because they were still getting some of the blessings, right? South America and East Asia too. Like I said, how do we know that those are the original people that were there? You're talking about people going in and displacing you, and then talking about your homelands at the same time. You can't have both, because that would imply that you've never been removed. You've never moved. So therefore, your whole comment about being displaced makes no sense. And the other girl talking about, pretty much like losing your identities, giving fake names in order to hide who they are. Well, we've been talking about that for years now. You know, I said we've been called African American. All these people that are running around here calling themselves African American. Well, we're not African American. That was something that was made up in the 1980s by Jesse Jackson. You know, and so right, Queen Mommy, you're just copying and pasting what you hear here, and then look at all the likes supposedly that she has. You see all up at the top, 2,021, almost 2,200 likes or hearts or whatever else. But she's taken exactly the same information that you can go on my videos and look years back that I've been bringing up information, and all of a sudden my videos can get 100. But well, the one video I did yesterday was Trump has supposedly 400 views, something like that. I mean, it's pretty hilarious, right? But let me play this one real quick. Let me play just a little bit more.
Homelands steal from us, unallow you can pillage our homelands, steal from us, unalive us, and we're going to be fine with it generations down the line? Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Now, see, and this is exactly again the Israelites. You can come into our homelands, pillage from us, steal from us, displace us, and at generations down the line, we wouldn't be upset. See, that's our story to the T. But Psalms 83, everyone that's been Confederate, they look like different people. You have everything from white people, brown people, black people, and Psalms 83. So she's just pretty much saying exactly what we've been saying this whole time. But all of a sudden they have Palestinians to rally around and then make it seem as if somehow they're now doing the right thing by rallying around the Palestinians. But then even she even admitted, this is not new. This is nothing new. We've done it before. Why don't you go into who they did it before to? Right? Why don't they talk about who they did this to before them? Again, Psalms 83 is being Confederate again. We're not telling you the whole truth. Okay? So they'll take, our stuff and then, regurgitate it and then give themselves all these likes and whatever else, supposedly, right? Let me see here. Okay, so let me check this out. Because they've been doing this kind of stuff for a little while here. So one before had almost 16,000 views, but they've been dropping them down quite a bit. And then this one will barely move. Right here. 450 in a couple days. I said, but this is what they do. So then they'll come over here, steal information, regurgitate it on other channels, and then give all these views to these other people because these other people are giving you half truths. See, we'll take it all the way, and they don't want you to hear that, right? Exactly. Tell them where you're getting these messages from. Tell them where you're getting this information from. Tell them where you're getting these scriptures from. So let me see.
I don't know if people.
So let's check this one out. You guys are just telling, like I said, half truths this whole time. That's all right, though. I said the most high is he's really marking all of you. That's what's really going on, because you guys know that whatever you're talking about with Palestine happened a million times more to our people. Anytime you talk about being, about your solidarity with Palestinians, and you ignore our people, that's just the most high marking you, because you all know that you talk about coming in and pillaging. That's in the Bible too. Luke 21:24 did not happen just in 70 AD. It happened over here in the Americas. It happened to the whole house of Israel worldwide, all over not just in the Americas too, because we were everywhere. So anywhere our people were, in Asia as well, same thing. Look at that. You're going viral, and you're going to hear exactly what they've done to our people. You're going to hear pretty much our message again, and just put a white face on it right here, Psalms 83 face on it, and then give you half the truth, and then make it seem like all these people are listening to them when they're all over here listening to us. All right, let's check this one out. Let me sure I get you. Here we go. And the Americas wonder why the world hates them. And ain't just the Americas, the whole world hates Esau, right? So the whole world hates Esau. And the Most High hates Esau, Edom, and all you people have aligned yourselves with Edom in order to get the dainties of this world.
If people fully understand all that's been done to get Americans to this place of being complicit and confused for so long. And to go over everything, I would need a whole series.
So now how America is complicit and confused. So now she's going to tell us how we got to this. Oh no, she's not going to tell us how we got to this point of why the whole world and America is complicit and confused. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we've been telling you why you're confused. You know, I said they have hidden, they've stolen all of our information, try to make them sound like they were the owners of our information. Went out here and taught everybody out of our books. Well, kind of. They taught a little bit out of our books, and now when the world had vomited up their wisdom to be part of this, conglomerate, they just went along with it. They knew it was wrong, but they went along with it anyways. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go from the beginning because she said a whole lot right there.
I don't know if people fully understand all that's been done to get Americans to this place of being complicit and confused for so long. And to go over everything, I would need a whole series.
Psalms 83.
But let me just talk about part of it.
Complicit and confused.
So let's look at the narrative that they're trying to paint today with what's happening with Israel and Palestine, right? They're trying to paint Israel as who is Israel? They are the colonizers, right? We all know this. They are painting them to be the hero or the victim and just trying to invoke your sympathy for them at all costs, right? Well, let me talk about my personal experience. I've always lived in the USA. Grew up here, went to school here. Let me talk about my experience going to school and what I learned about history. So, for one, a lot of people know this already, but we didn't learn any real truth behind what happened with the Native Americans to get here. We know in reality it was genocide after genocide after genocide, but they use the same kind of narrative to paint themselves as like these heroes, or like, oh, these people couldn't figure it out themselves, and then leave all the graphic details out about what they actually did to them, and are still messing with them to this day. So don't even get me started on that tangent. And then, let me get started on another tangent. They did the same thing kind of with, not exact same, but similar with slavery and Jim Crow. Like,
so again, they did kind of the same thing. Like, so you're trying to say that they did worse to the natives, but they did kind of the same thing. No, the natives that we were talking about were the so-called Negroes and whatever else. But see, like even she's giving like partial truths, and they're trying to downplay what happened to our people. And talking about just genocide after genocide after genocide, but she's been benefiting from it. So you can't keep putting people out here that have been, benefiting. Look at the name of her channel, Colonial Upset. So you're a colonizer, you've been benefiting, but now that you aren't able to continue benefiting, now that's really why you're upset. You're really upset because you're not going to be able to continue to benefit anymore. That's it. So you're not upset that you want truth to come out. You're upset because you're not going to be able to benefit anymore. Let's continue.
Let me get started on another tangent. They did the same thing kind of with, not exact same, but similar with slavery and Jim Crow. Like, they left all kinds of graphic details out about that. And I find this to be on purpose. I think that this nation has always thrived on white supremacy. And in order to keep that going, you can't have people knowing the truth about what you've actually done. and what's actually happened to these people of color. And you also, you can't let the people think that they have any chance of rising up against you. And so, of course, the only genocide that we learn about in explicit detail with all kinds of images and spend so much time on it happens to be the H event. And who happens to be the specific group that they are trying to protect right now. And I already said my problem is with Zionists and colonizers, not Jews. So before y'all even try it, little Zio rats always run into the comments. Can't wait. But yeah, that was definitely to invoke your sympathy for the European Jews to get us to this point. The way.
But these people aren't over here just copying what we're talking about. They're not over here copying information. And if you looked again, you know, what do they give you here? Hold on. What do they give you? 2,400 likes, you know, whatever, day ago, all these comments, everything else. Thoughtful. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for speaking truth. All the BS, right? She's not speaking truth, man. She's still not telling you the truth. You know, she pretty much tried to talk about slavery and Jim Crow in like 5 seconds. You don't think that was even worse? You know, I say, but this is what happens when the other video talking about how they make different groups. And I'm like, if those natives that the government approved natives were the people who have been destroyed, how come I don't see so many of them waking up and telling the truth right now? How come how come a lot of them are very silent? Because they know about black natives. I've been to powwows and I've seen a couple of black natives here and there that they'll approve, right? So they know the history. They know that the so-called black people are natives. You even got people over here talking about it. You got people even on social media bringing it up, right? So it just shows you how they're only giving you partial truth all over everything, right? She glossed over everything, right? So they already know exactly what's going on. They already know that we have awakened. We didn't need their help. But see, they're just trying to, again, control the narrative. It's damage control at this point because they're like figuring out, like, how in the hell did they get all this information? How the hell did they figure all this stuff out? They know the scriptures. They knew the Holy Spirit was going to come and give us all this information. You know, they're trying to separate like these groups between like the Native Americans and the so-called black people. Like the natives went through this, which was worse than what the so-called black people or African Americans went through. You know, again, that's why we don't let Gentiles tell our story. Gentiles all have a vested interest in lying to us because they're all part of Psalms 83 and they're all vested in telling half truths. So what they're going to do is keep coming over here, getting information, keep my numbers down, you know, shadow ban my channel, and then take that to their channels and then tell you half of the truth that they just heard, and then make it and then give themselves all these likes and all these people are like, oh, thank you for bringing all this truth. Thank you for bringing out this understanding. Exactly the same thing, because they don't want to tell you that, okay, well, now that you figured this out, that you're going to have to pay. You know, just like that one TikToker was talking about how you thought you were going to be able to steal from our, you know, come and pillage our lands, kill us, rape, rob, murder, and steal, and that our ancestors, you know, or our, you know, future generations wouldn't be upset when they figured out the truth. That is our story to the T. That is biblical story, you know, from the beginning to the end. So what you're getting a lot of people.
The Israelites were black people
who are like trying to tell our story now, you know, and it's just it's hilarious because they say you got these people just making these videos that are telling what we've been saying, the things that we've been saying for the last 10, 12, 13, 14 years, right? Always stealing and copying, you know, that's exactly what they've been doing this whole time. So like, right, Captain Obvious over here.
were black people. Okay, they weren't these Jewish people. So we're going to go into why that is. So no, the Egyptians weren't white people, I'm afraid. Even though all all the films that you see and all the illustrations they show white people, it's kind of obvious that people living in Northeast Africa were black people. So the biblical Israelites were black. It says that Ham, this is according to the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, or separate people, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, Canaanites. So it's telling you there that, again, the Egyptians and what became the Africans were black people. So going through the Bible, I'm not going to go through all of these, but yeah, Joseph in the Bible was so much like an Egyptian that his own brothers didn't recognize him. So obviously he looked like an Egyptian, so the Israelites were black people. Moses was also an Israelite, but he was raised under the nose of Pharaoh, so he'd kind of stand out if he was a white guy. And he was also mistaken as an Egyptian by the daughters of the priest of Midian. And also Moses' sister, Miriam, was turned white as a punishment. So Charlton Heston played Moses in the Ten Commandments film. There was a bit they left out of that film, was when the Most High, as a test or a demonstration of his power, he told Moses to put his hand into his tunic and then take it out, and his hand had turned white. Well, that's something that Charlton Heston couldn't really do. So I suppose it does look a bit pale, So it tells you that Moses actually looked very different to Charlton Heston. So there's a lot more biblical references that tell you that the Israelites were actually black people. But yeah, you can like go through it in the Bible. And throughout the what's called the Renaissance period, all of the artwork was replaced throughout Europe. But because Russia, well, it was a kind of insular society at that time, Renaissance didn't get to Russia. So you can go online and search for Russian icons, and you'll find that everybody who was portrayed in the Bible were portrayed black. And yeah, after Renaissance, all that artwork was destroyed and replaced with Whiteness versions. But 500 years ago, prior to 500 years ago, this is how they were always depicted. And the last thing is that this man is the ex-president of Egypt, and he was quoted on television to say, "We can't accept the Jews because they left here black, but came back white." So he literally said that on television, and yeah, he was murdered not long after that. The Israelites were black people. Okay, they weren't these Jewish.
So this is why they can only tell you half the truth. This is why all these other videos are only telling you half the truth. Now, as Gamal Nasser, he's also a white person. Why is that? Because he told you that these Jews, the original Jews, left black, and these ones came back white, but we cannot accept you. And that's it. That's all you're going to say. See, they'll say like little things here and little things there, but then they won't continue on. They, just, okay, big deal. Okay, everybody knows that the Jews are not the white people, the so-called European Jews. Okay, he said they can't accept them. Then why didn't these Arabs expound on the fact that who are the Jews then? Why don't they talk about, well, they left black. Well, who are these black Jews that left? Because that leaves it open to what, like these Africans that you see over there in Africa. Are they the only Jews? Or which black people are you talking about? Because not all black people are Israelites. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's still you're only telling half a truth, even still. Where's the rest, right, Queen Mommy? And then that's the thing. So I don't care if he looks brown. I don't care if he's Arab. They're still not telling the whole truth. You're still only telling, okay, left, black. Okay. So we all know that now. Be specific onto who fits the curses. Who are the people? Who should you be blessing? Just because you're fighting with Ish doesn't make you righteous. You're supposed to be, your righteousness isn't fighting between Gentile against Gentile. You guys get blessed by blessing the true Israelites. And see, none of them want to tell you who the true Israelites are, because see, then you won't bless them. You won't listen to them. You would then be listening to the true people of the Most High, because then you will be receiving wise counsel. You see, they still want to continue to have themselves in these positions of authority where you're still going to listen to them. So that's why they're not going to tell you who the true Israelites are, because the whole world would begin to listen to them and to the true Israelites and not the Gentiles. You see, but that's been this whole thing with Psalms 83. This goes back to the Greeks. Remember, the Greeks told us that it was illegal for us to follow our ways and that everyone had to be Greek, right? So as soon as they did that to us, they were able to raise themselves up into positions of authority. They had our books, they had our information, but they did not have the understanding. But they could portray themselves as having more understanding than the vast majority of the people, because they weren't reading. They didn't have the Israelites to give wise counsel. So that raised them up to be in positions of authority. So that just transferred to the Roman Empire. And then now that's gone to the revived Roman Empire. So they have not had any wise counsel. So now you have all these people that go part way and tell you some things, but they won't tell you the whole truth, because they want to keep themselves in positions of mental authority, spiritual authority. You really think the world's going to listen to anything these people have to say once they realize who the Israelites are and they start to listen to them, just like the Bible says, and they begin to get blessings because they start to bless the true people? So you guys have been getting blessings because we were cursed. You weren't being blessed because you were going to church on Sunday. You weren't being blessed because you were listening to your pastor. You weren't listening to these priests. You weren't part of these religions. That's not why you were blessed. You were blessed. Your blessing was pretty much because of went hand in hand with our cursing. So see, many of you guys are still going to church every Sunday, but are you getting blessed now? No, because our cursing is over with and your cursing is here, and there's nothing you can do to get out of it. You can try to hopefully lessen it by blessing the Israelites now while you can. I said, but that's neither here nor there. Now it's funny because, like I said, the live has been stuck at like 800 for like the last 15, 20 minutes. But what you're going to hear though, is you're going to hear this same information going on other channels, and they're going to tell you half of it. And they're going to be getting supposedly thousands and thousands of likes and thousands of views. See, now it's very easy to see, what their MO is, what's going on. I said, you're going to hear many of the things. It's like, yeah, that sounds like what we've been talking about on this channel. And then all of a sudden it's going to be so popular and everything, all these truthers coming out and everything else. Right. So like I said, it's all making so much sense now, because this is what they've done the whole time. I says, this is what's been going on the whole time. Now, all of a sudden they want to play the victim, right? And it's not going to work anymore. You guys can't play the victim. You can't play the destroyers and the destroyed at the same time. So it's not going to work anymore.
Christopher Columbus.
Let's check this one out real quick. And they would put people up and then they would attack them just because there's a certain person like Farrakhan, and oh, he's evil, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. Just listen to what the man says.
Christopher Columbus is not our origin, so he can't call me a West Indian. His first journey, he saw some strange-looking people there. They didn't come out and say, "Whoa, we Indians." He was looking for a new route to India. Found some people that he had never seen before and called them Indians. And since he was sailing west to go east, he called that part the West Indies. So now we're coming up. I'm a West Indian. How dare you let the little island on which you live cause you to be separated from your own kin and kin. So one from Jamaica, one from Barbados, one from Trinidad, one from St. Kitts, one from Nevis, one from Barbuda, one from Tortola, one from this, one from that. And you're all arguing and fighting with each other over a term that does not apply to you. Christopher Columbus is not our origin, so he can't call me a West Indian. Neither is Africanus our origin. So you call yourself an African. You are not an African. You were before there was an Africa. Look at yourself. I'm an African American. Stop it. They named this country after Amerigo Vespucci.
African Americans, stop it. Christians, stop it. You're a Constantine Christian. Doesn't matter what color you are part of Psalms 83, and now it's easy to see. We can see it right through you. You know? Yes, he was cooking, right? So I love listening to Farrakhan, you know? And it's like a great orator, you know? And like I said, this is all biblical prophecy. This is what happens when you don't know the Bible. You know, you people who are here, they said, if you want to steal content, why don't you guys go into that one? Why don't you guys go into Baruch 2 and 30, right? Why don't you go into that? Why don't you go into Baruch 2 and 30, how the Israel's going to wake up in the lands of their captivities? Why don't you go into that? See, that's what you ain't going to get into any of that, because you still, even though you're saying that you know that those European Jews over there are not the people, you don't take the next step, and you never will, because you're still part of Psalms 83. Just because you're speaking a little bit of the truth you hear here, and that's it, then that means you're just still part of Psalms 83, and you're still trying to hide all of this information and all this understanding, all in order to take down as many people down the path with you. You try to take them all down that road, that wide road to destruction with you. And that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah, you're right, Israel. You can't be named after two continents, African American, and allowing your oppressors to dictate everything to you and about who you are. Right? I said, so this is why the Most High sent the Holy Spirit to bring all things back into remembrance. You know what I'm saying? And the Bible is telling you what's going on. What we're going to wake up, that we're going to have that spirit of the all from that Nag Hammadi who's going to be breathing life into all of us. This is why you're going to get people from all different parts of the world saying the same things, because the Spirit is flowing through us, right? And she also allows us to see what you're doing. She allows us to see how you are stealing. You're doing what you've always done, nations. You've stolen our information. You don't tell the world where they got it, where you got it from. And then you have wiped out everyone that had everything originally. And then you've brought in other people into those lands, into those areas. And you gave them those names. And now, all the way even until today, these people are walking around thinking that they're the original people. You know what I'm saying? And they're not. But see, this is why you guys won't read the scriptures for reals. In Jeremiah 30, and Jeremiah 30 and 11. For I am with thee, saith the Most High, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee. See, your Psalms 83. You guys, we were scattered all over the place, right? Yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and I will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So we've gone through our punishments. He's bringing us out of those punishments. And that punishment also was physical, but it was also mental and spiritual, right? For thus saith the Most High, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. Now see, that's why I cannot trust, and we cannot trust you other nations to tell us the truth, right? For the Most High said, there is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicine. So when you look at these videos and they're telling you half the truth, they're coming over here and stealing this information and then going back and trying to making videos on it, but only giving you half the information and not giving it all to you because there's no one to plead our cause. None of them are going to say anything about our cause. That's why they don't even talk about slavery and Jim Crow. They just gloss over all that because she's not for us. None of them are for us, right? 14, Jeremiah 13:14. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. So right there, 14 at the beginning, all thy lovers have forgotten thee. When we went with the other nations, right? When we went back, when we went with the other nations, and we made them our lovers. We turned away from the Father, right? And we went with the other nations. And we were like, oh, it's going to be better if we go with them. You know, they're our lovers. They love us. They want to work with us. They want to be with us, right? So all their lovers have forgotten thee. They destroyed us, took our land, took everything from us, took our possessions, took our identity, and have forgotten us. Psalms 83. To the T. All their lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not. They're not even looking for us. Like I said, just like in those videos. She knows the truth, but she won't talk about it because they're not seeking us. They're seeking their own way out of this mess. You see what I'm saying? They're seeking their own way out of this mess. They're seeking their own path to try to get some kind of mercy. So, and that path does not include us. Even though the Most High said, if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed. They're trying to find their own path, and they're not going to be able to. Okay? And then 15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? That's talking about us. Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins have increased. I have done these things unto thee. This is what the Father did to us. But she now starting to make more sense. You're seeing these scriptures to jump out into reality. Yes, social media can be used, for good, and for bad. They're using it to keep their people asleep. They're using the social media to keep themselves asleep by putting these people out here, and they only give you half the truth. Most High use it for good by giving the Israelites the opportunity to come out and have our platforms and be able to bring the whole truth out. So if anyone wants the whole truth, they'll realize that they're only been told part of the truth. They're not talking about the so-called black people. They're not talking about the so-called native people. I said, my thing is with the natives, I'm like, if you guys are the people, then why aren't you out here, shouting this truth shouting this truth out? Supposedly, you've been treated worse than we have, according to one of these videos. Then why is it you're just all quiet as a church mouse, not saying anything? That's because you guys are all part of Psalm. Not all of you, but many of you are part of Psalms 83. You've taken the bag. You got your blood quantum. You got your blessing. And that's just nothing but hush money. Nothing but hush money. And all these different groups, East Indians, why are you guys so quiet? I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't understand how we got all these brown people, these dark people as dark as us are all pretty much praying to a white Jesus, to the God of our colonizers. How is that possible? We got all these black people, everybody else has gods that look like them except for us. We got over here people just, preaching to the God of our colonizers worldwide. East Indians, Filipinos, Asians, Latinos, Mexicans, South Americans. All these people got white Jesus, and that was the God that was brought over here to put you into slavery. And I don't want to hear anything about, it doesn't matter, because look, if it does matter, because you allow those people to dictate what you read, how you interpret what you read, and everything else. And it's all based off of Cesare Borgia, white Jesus. So again, Jeremiah 30:15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. So we had to go through our destruction, right? 16. But therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Most High, because they called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith the Most High, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Jacob's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And the city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. So you guys are welcome to believe whatever you want. So you're going to be seeing my content all over the place if you don't already see it when you start hearing these people talking about the truth, because this is how they've always done it. They don't have the full understanding, so all they can do is take some of the information and try to twist it, because they can't talk about the full understanding of what's being brought out here, because it's not for them. And as I said, none of these people are going to be for our turn, right? Jeremiah 40:13. Well, Jeremiah 30:14. All thy lovers have forgotten thee; they seek thee not. So all of their breakdowns are going to be to forget about Israel and to not seek after us. Because why? Because they have been the ones that have been Confederate with destroying the memory of our people worldwide. So Psalms 83, verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So anyone who's telling you half truths is Psalms 83. Doesn't matter what color they are, they're Psalms 83, because they've all come together with one consent to destroy the name of Israel. They're all confederate against us. So you can miss us with the whole, black, white issue, because that's something that you guys, again, have made up in order to hide the Psalms 83 confederacy against the Israelites. So there's plenty of black people, brown people, yellow people that are all part of Psalms 83. And they've taken the bag and they've gotten their blessing. And now many of them I know are not very happy with the bag that they received. They thought they should have had a lot more. They should have gotten a lot more, but that's not our problem. That's between you and Satan. Shalom.
Okay.